Welcome back to Solution Focused Media with John French. I'm John French, and we want to welcome you to our little show, reaching Bakersfield, Kern County, and hopefully beyond. Every episode is unscripted and unrehearsed, and our show focuses on finding solutions versus just being victims of all the bombast and echo chambers that our media, a lot of our media seem to turn into. Today's guest, I wanted to bring for my very first guest show, a good friend of mine, Eric Crane.
Hello, I'm Eric. How are you doing?
Eric is a talented and funny individual, a guy who I've known for quite a while, been in ministry with at a church.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a guy who I've remained friends with over the years. We've worked side by side. We worked with young people, done a lot of stuff together. And one of the things that is true, while we share a lot of similarities, we also have different points of view on some issues like
Very
politics.
much so. Yeah.
And yet we've managed to remain friends.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
We managed to. I know we've had a few spirited discussions on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Before, yeah. And yet it all, by the end of the discussion, it came down to us remembering, hey, we're people, we have opinions, there's respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We come from different backgrounds.
Right.
If everyone thought the same, this world, this country would be a very boring, bizarre place.
Right, and I think that's what fascism is, when we try to force everybody to think the same way.
Absolutely.
And really what I found in life is, I said this last week in kind of my opening salvo, is that I'm a conservative, and I'm a proud conservative, and yet I understand there's validity to all points of view.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what intelligent people ascribe to, is finding
Absolutely.
validity in all points of view, finding the truth.
Yeah, and I think it's more, you have to come from a very empathetic mindset, not a sympathetic or anything.
Right.
You have to understand when someone has a different point of view from you, where are they coming from?
Right.
Don't just think of like, where are they at right now? Like, what's the history of it? There's a reason they're thinking this way.
Right.
And then what's your history? And then who would you be if you lived that life,
Absolutely.
And so you can't just completely write anyone off just because their politics are different, their mindset's different, It's different if they watch the show Big Bang Theory. You can totally write them off. Those people, their opinions do not matter. Everybody else, I'm pretty on board with.
You're pretty on board
Yeah.
with. I love it, and that's a kind of a good place to start. I like what you said in terms of being empathetic, because everyone has a story, and I have something by my desk at work that says, listen to everyone's story, even the dull and the ignorant, because everyone has a story to tell. And I'm not calling you dull or ignorant, but
I am. I'm calling you dull.
But everyone has a story to tell, and being a Christian, we're both Christians.
Absolutely.
And Jesus, one of the very first things that he talked about, other than saying repent for the kingdom of God is coming, was to encourage us not to judge each other.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's too often in discussions about politics or issues, people immediately begin to judge one another as right or wrong or good or bad.
Anyone that would come to him, he would fully accept, and he would protect from everyone. But anyone that tried to trick him or entrap him and everything, that's when Jesus was actually a very funny man. When you read that, he never allowed that stuff, and he always turned it back on him. And that's the way we should be. If anyone's willing to come to us, we should treat them with respect.
I agree.
We should treat them with love. We can treat them with compassion.
Right.
But if anyone's trying to turn the argument around or entrap us or make us feel stupid, that's when you're like, if you're not going to respect me. Right. It's not that you don't. We have a problem of always throwing it back on them. Well, I'm going to disrespect you. No, we should say either we need to revamp things to where we're going to come out as adults, or this conversation needs to end.
Yeah, and I know that Christ, when he went out and began his ministry, and he began recruiting people to join him and to teach them and to further prepare for the development of the church beyond his time on earth, he brought people from all backgrounds together.
Oh yeah.
From all points of view. It just wasn't a kind of a monolithic or singular point of view. He had businessmen, he had tax collectors who were very hated. He had people from all walks of life coming together to find and spread truth.
Yeah. And it's funny that he brought his disciples to work together, and you got fishermen in the tax tax collector, those should be people that
diametrically opposed, the businessman and the tax man,
instead
right?
they're preaching side by side, and all
Right.
of them became scholars and writers and things that they never thought that they could be.
Right. And I think that a lot of the direction I think that we need to go going forward, because again, we can agree. We don't have to agree on everything politically, but can we agree there are people who profit from our division?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. People actually are relying on this country to stay divided and stay arguing.
Right, and I'd mentioned this before. I talked to someone in media, and I said, "Where's the solution-focused media?" And their reply was, "Well, we're not. That's not really our thing."
Yeah,
and that's really what spurred my thought. There's got to be solutions that we can come up with.
Amen.
Because we've gotten so far apart. And I think there's a small group of people out there of varying ideologies that want power. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm not being Alex Jones here. Although it saddens me to see that even Alex Jones is being curtailed, because I believe in free speech, even ugly free speech, even hate speech. I believe in free speech because, without getting too far in the weeds, I think that people that are intelligent can look at a Nazi and go, I'm not calling Alex Jones a Nazi, but can look at a Nazi or look at a hater, or look at Pol Pot and go, I'm not into that. I'm not going to follow a person like that. And to curtail any free speech, it's interesting on Berkeley where free speech began, it's where free speech is really dying.
Yeah, I mean, they're protesting anyone that doesn't think their way to go away.
Calling it hate speech.
But also, you got to remember that people from out of Berkeley actually are coming in to protest the protesters before the protests even begin sometimes.
Yeah,
so it's both sides on that. And so Berkeley just become this stomping ground of shutting everybody up.
Right, and that's frightening to me.
It's very much so.
It's frightening me because I some of the people that I respect the most, I like Ben Shapiro quite a bit. He's quite a common sense guy, libertarian. Mm-hmm. I like his approach that hate speech ought to especially be protected because of the fact that it ultimately comes down to who determines what hate speech is, who determines what is good and what is bad, And eventually there are people, again, that profit from our division that want to stifle the free flow of information.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of the dangers we're facing today. I like the fact that when we walked up, you asked me, said I watched some of the shows and John, what are you getting me into? Is it like, because I was so willing, I was like, come on to my show, get over here.
And and me, I was just automatically, I'll do it, and then I researched it, did it backwards. And I'm like, they're gonna put me in a sack. I'm gonna wake up in a dark room, with a bag over my head.
Yes, we are.
And they're just like, listen.
Right. We're gonna play ABBA and only feed you like scraps and water, make you write anti-liberal essays.
Until you're finally put me on the news, my eyes all darkened and everything like that. I am a proud conservative.
And my job I think isn't to change anybody's philosophies or ideologies. I'm not into the extremism. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, no, that's bad.
I'm not into extremism, but the truth is, Jesus, even. He came across a man who was a beggar, and there's a story in the Bible, and the guy, it was kind of the hip thing to ask Jesus to heal you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, oh, I got healed by Jesus, you get a healing, right? and Jesus walked up, guys like, heal me. And this was a guy that was making a lot of money begging. Mm-hmm. And Jesus looked into his heart, and he saw his intention, and he said, do you really want to be healed?
Yeah.
And it implied that, yes, we're all about healing. We're all about helping the people that have been oppressed, that have been shut out by a segment, not every rich person, but by a segment of society that profited from them not living in their neighborhood, profited from them having all the wealth. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm going to help these people, but he also understood that we have the ability to help ourselves.
Yeah. And talking about Jesus and healing, I want to bring up the life of Monty Python.
Right. I love that.
Brian.
Right.
And how I feel like on the left, they're not thinking things all the way through. And I think of the leper who got healed, and now he has no form of income.
Yes.
Yes. That's the thing. It's like, I want. And then if you get it, what is really going to happen?
Right.
And so that's what I think. And he's sitting there now, he's just like, oh, what's wrong with you? He's like, well, nothing, but, he healed me. And now I got no form of income. And so it's both things. It's like, we need it's what do you want, but then are you really thinking past that?
Right.
Are you thinking besides the good ideas, what sounds good to us, and everything costs money, or everything comes with consequences, or everything's going to create enemies, and no one ever thinks past that.
Right. And my grandma, God rest her soul, head would explode if she knew that I liked The Life of Brian by Monty Python. Fantastic movie. I liked how they were telling him, "You're the Messiah." And he's like, "I'm not the Messiah."
I'm not the Messiah.
Yeah, you are the Messiah. But at the end of the day, it is true, and it comes down to perspective. It comes down to how we're willing to look at things. And if we can separate ourselves from all the bombast, if we can separate ourselves from the extremities of discussion and somewhere meet in the middle. A dear friend of mine, Jackie Parks, who used to be on the news here on 23, just recently visited, got to spend some time with her. Hi, Jackie, hope you're watching. Said she wants to form the Moors Party, and that's middle of road.
Okay.
And I think like we were talking about how Jesus had this wonderful perspective of him helping and empowering, and also of empowerment and also helping people. But I think ultimately it came down to the help that he gave people was there to empower people to find their greatness in life. And I think that we can both kind of concur that if there's a system that disempowers people and keeps them permanently dependent upon this group of people that's handing out scraps, that's also not.
Yeah, and he was all for allowing everybody to speak. Right. The only times he ever got angry is when the church was dishonored, or when someone of faith was suddenly losing their faith,
right.
and making it his fault.
Right.
Other than that, he wanted everyone's questions to be heard. He wanted everyone to be able to speak, because that's the only way. The only way we can be heard is to listen.
Right, and I think we would agree that a lot of what's going on college campuses is really the death of critical thinking.
Oh, well. Yeah. I don't 100% agree with that.
Right. Okay.
I think a lot of times because people are saying, "Oh man, college is this liberal breeding ground," and they're forcing the leftist agenda. Right. What it is college now is teaching people to look at things from all sorts of different perspectives. Okay. And yeah, you do. I'm not going to say that they don't have a liberal bias to it. Okay. But
we'll agree on that.
We'll agree on. I fully agree on that. But the thing is I don't believe if you raise this Christian child and everything, and you send them to college and they're going to come back atheists. No, if they come back that was you did not root them harder. That's their past before that. Okay. If someone's truly rooted in Christ, even though they come back and like, "Hey, Dad, I'm atheist now," they're gonna slowly turn around. You can't blame college for that. That's something about their roots. But the thing is as Christians, we also need to be looking at everything critically. We need to look at all sides of everything, and that's what college teaches. The only thing is I was raised conservative and I was gung-ho about it until college. And the reason why, for a while I was far left. Far.
And
but
we missed you.
but I'm saying even before I met you, like I'm sorry to say this, and I am ashamed. I'm not proud of this at all, but I had like an upside down flag hung in my room. Yeah. I was punk rocking.
You were young.
Yeah, but the reason is because I was raised with so narrow a scope, right, that when things got broad and I saw everything, I felt betrayed. Right. By the other.
You felt like you were kept in a box and not exposed.
So I'm like, well, they're liars and I don't trust them. And then also it was just so much coming at me at once, and it was so new and exciting, but I just did not trust this other side for the longest time. And so that's the thing, is we can't just shelter ourselves, we can't shelter our kids and everyone around us from the rest of the world. We have to show them all sides, but we have to show them like this is the main foundation.
Yes, I agree.
And different flowers can sprout up from the same soil, but we have to show them this is the main foundation. So wherever you come into life, as long as this is your rock, this is your foundation, then everything will be okay.
As long as Jesus is.
Yeah, and then that's why I see every time I ask someone who I was raised with, who was a Christian, some of them way stronger Christians than I was at the time, and now they're atheists, some militant atheists, some are just way out there, and I'm like, hey, how'd they come to that? And it's the same thing, is that they weren't given the answers when they got old enough and started to get questions. They were so contained that when things broke through, they could not trust Christianity anymore.
So I think what you're saying, and what I'm hearing you say, is that is it begins with the parents.
It really does.
Yeah. And I completely agree. I think that that we can have a real spirited and lively discussion about this, and I'm excited. This is energizing me.
Yeah,
us talking and sharing our points of view. We'll come back on the other side of our break that we're about to have, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the role of parenting and parents in our society.
Oh, amen. That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
I choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
If the best criminal attorneys choose Patriot Bail Bonds, who would you choose?
Patriot Bail Bonds. We fight for your freedom.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license is not going to suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
Welcome back to Solution Focused Media with John French, a place where solutions are sought for and they matter. Here on my first guest show, I have my dear friend Eric Crane. Grace decided to graciously give us a little bit of his time. He's a busy guy. I know that, and he's also someone who's on the different end of the political spectrum than me. You voted for Hillary.
Yeah, but I'm not proud.
Not proud of that.
Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't a Hillary supporter. It
Right.
was just. It was. I thought she was the lesser of two evils.
Lesser of two evils.
And I want to emphasize evil. I did not think that Hillary was going to save the day.
Right.
You know, I just thought they're both going to dig a hole. Which hole do I think we have a better chance of climbing out of?
And that's you know, in the work that I do, there's something called ambivalence, and that's thinking two ways about something.
Yeah.
And there's 3 or 4 types of ambivalence conflicts. One of them is approach, which is having two good choices. Do I want to work in San Diego or do I want to work in San Luis Obispo?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about San Luis Obispo, but
you can afford it.
Nice.
Nice.
So, and then the other thing, and the other one's avoidance, and that's two hard choices. You know, devil in the deep blue sea, rock in a hard place. And I think that was our election for a lot of people. You know, they were like, I don't know about this. And, you know, and the truth is, I think if the Democrats would have offered up a better candidate, the results, the outcome may have been different. I don't know. I have my own points of view on everything, but the sad part about it is that people are so quick to call people Nazis or racists, when the truth is maybe a lot of them just didn't like the Democratic choice. Maybe the Democrats didn't offer up a palatable choice.
They really didn't.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who voted Democrat for many years that voted for Trump because they saw the economic opportunity. They held their nose on some of the statements that he made getting here. You know, the Billy Bush Entertainment Tonight piece, which I think was basically locker room talk. He was trying to impress Billy Bush and all that, but I think that they just kind of held their nose and voted for Trump. And I think as far as Trump's strengths, I think our economy is doing a lot better, which is important. I think that the business climate is a lot better. I think there's a lot to discuss there, but I'd like to get back to, we touched upon a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is parenting. Because, you know, in my line of work, I'm in the helping profession, and I have to go to a lot of trainings. I have to go to a lot of cultural competence trainings. I love cultural competence trainings. I want to learn about other people, other cultures, because, you know, when I'm connecting with someone and trying to help them, it's important, like you talked about, empathy, understanding their perspective. And I've had a lot of cultural, like Hispanic trainings, African American trainings, LGBTQ trainings. And the one thing that I've always talked to the people I work for about is, why aren't we having trainings about the culture of fatherlessness?
Oh yes, very much so.
The culture of fatherlessness, and in my line of work, I've worked with people from all walks of life. You know, rich, wealthy, poor, LGBTQ, Hispanic, all that, and African American, and many cultures, Native American, and what I found is the thing that is the biggest hindrance to a lot of groups of folks having a better life and engaging in opportunities is not having a dad in the house. And you know, there's something called toxic masculinity, and I used to think that was a kind of a hippy dippy kind of thing until I sat down and had a real good discussion with someone who was from the opposite end of the political spectrum. They're very liberal, but I love having discussions with people. I love discussing with people that think. That's why I like having discussions with you. And this guy said, look, what we're talking about here is we're talking about kids who don't have a father in the home. And dads are supposed to teach us certain things. We have needs like safety, love, touch, you know, loving touch, all these needs that we have. And when these needs are unfulfilled, like positive channeling male energy, then this boy walks across the bridge into adolescence. And who's there waiting for him but other adolescents?
Yes.
And if we look at an adolescent's perspective on what being a man is, most of that comes from where? In the absence of a father.
Oh, from the father? Yeah. From TV, and movies,
media,
and video games, yeah.
Right. And it's interesting how Hollywood is so quick to say, you know, our products don't influence anyone, and yet when gay marriage was passed, I got Entertainment Weekly, and they're like, look what we did through all the movies and TV that we did. We're awesome, look at us. But the video games, not so much. But they're getting this notion of what being a man is from violent movies, because as boys we're drawn to loud, big things. You've done a film. You're in film. You're very much in film. What was the movie that you did?
Pitching Hope.
Pitching Hope. If you can, where could they find that?
It's on Amazon right now.
On Amazon.
Prime. If you have Prime, it's actually free on Prime.
Okay, Pitching Hope. Look it up. I got to tell you, it's powerful. It's a short film.
Oh no! Pitching Hope is actually a full-length feature.
Oh, what was the other one?
Oh, you mean the one that I actually wrote and directed?
Yes.
Okay, that one's on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's called Unfaithful.
Unfaithful.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm talking about.
That one's also a short film.
Yes, one that our friend Barney was in.
Yes.
Yes.
Barney's in Pitching Hope too.
That was Pitching Hope. Now, Pitching Hope, you were a part of in what?
And Pitching Hope, I was second unit director, and I was lighting director.
Nice.
On that, and then I have a brief cameo.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, and it's so you're into film. You understand the power of media to move people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think there will be a day of reckoning sooner or later for people that use that in a manipulative way. But we can certainly agree that it's had an effect on this type of imagery and media. It has had an effect on young boys who don't have a positive father to let them know, hey, this isn't how reality is. And when parents abdicate their authority on raising their children, then this is kind of what happens. That's how we get like the school shooters and not entirely the school shooters, but the desensitization to violence.
Yeah.
You know, and so what happens is these young guys come in and these other kids are teaching them, hey, this rapey kind of aggressive way is how you get chicks, and having a chick is how you be a man, and you have sex with all the chicks, and if somebody disrespects you, you beat them up.
Yeah.
And that's what toxic masculinity is. That's what's come out of a lot of parents abdicating their authority. And here's what I found. A lot of parents, good, well-intended people that have good upbringing, they're so busy doing this, and their attention is on so many other things that the time that they have with their children is being, taken away.
Yeah.
Willingly. The kids are being ignored and they're left to their own devices.
Yeah, I could fully agree with that. I mean, people are going to argue that, you don't always need a man in the house, but you never hear them argue you don't always need a woman in the house. Right. But you never hear that, because for the most part, I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Right.
I mean, because I have a son from someone from before my marriage who I don't get to see very often, only because that's just how it works out.
Sure.
And then once my first daughter was born with my wife, I was working in the oil fields, shift work, or weeks on, weeks off, and so I felt like I only got to spend half the time with her. So when my second and final child, my second daughter, second daughter, final child was born, I asked my wife, I said, hey, you're doing well, and I hate my job.
In all fields?
Yeah, it's just like, can I be a stay-at-home dad? Right. And we decided, we worked out and said it was something we could do. Right. And even though I loved it, I got demonized, well, not demonized, but I was treated
like you were less than a man by some people, right?
Less than a man, or they were just assume a man does nothing, because I'd have all these stay-at-home moms say, well, what do you do with your child? I'm like, what do you mean?
Same stuff you do.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we make lunches, we take them to the park, we'll play games with them and stuff. So,
and here you are starving your children.
Yeah, what do you do? I'm all, make lunches, take them to the park.
Right, same stuff.
But none could ever wrap their hands around it. They just assumed that I must be sitting on the couch playing video games. And I'm like, I don't even think my PlayStation was hooked up.
Right.
I'm not even a gamer, but yeah, people just don't assume that when it comes to masculinity that doesn't translate to a bunch of different things. And really, the most masculine things you could do is just show your kids that you're there for all things, and we really got to redefine masculinity, because it always used to be that it's the man's job, that he goes to work, he brings home the bacon, but then once he comes home, leave him alone,
Right.
let him have time to decompress, give him the big piece of chicken. And it's like, dad is just basically,
and dad should get the big piece of chicken.
yeah, he does. That should never change.
That should never change. We agree.
I still get the big piece of chicken. But the thing is that's what we assume, is like that's his part in life, and then he kind of stands offish, when it should be completely invested on both sides. A dad should be just as much there for the kids. It doesn't matter how much he works, and it doesn't matter how much the mom works.
It's all about time, right?
It is, and you really got to invest it. It's be tired and everything. I think this entire week, it was my daughter's 10th birthday yesterday. This entire week, I maybe got 3 hours of sleep a night. Maybe.
Right.
Some of them, none. But it's just because I was investing so much time in my child, but there's only so many hours in a day.
Right.
And I was reading an article about, they want to know why the oldest child is always more intelligent. And I'm the oldest child, and that's absolutely scientifically true.
Stephanie, if you're watching this, we need to talk. I'll have you on next. Stephanie's a sister.
Yeah, and I was actually telling her about that yesterday. She goes, that's not true in our family.
Right.
But the thing is I was reading it, and they said, well, it's actually because when the first child's born, they get full attention from both parents. They're fully there 100% of the time on both. But once the second child's born, they love each child the same, but now the attention is divided.
Right.
And the thing is now they realize that the oldest is more intelligent, and then they give it less attention, and that's when they get social awkwardness. They kind of get more just enclosed and into themselves and everything like that. So as parents, we got to be fully aware of it as we get more and more kids. And so when it comes to the fatherhood and everything like that, we got to realize just how big our influence is on that. And it's just not just as a man and as a parent as a whole, and as a man though, not just as a dad. We got to show our kids what is a man in life.
Right.
And whenever we come to confrontation, political confrontation and everything like that, we can't show our kids like, this is right, I'm going to kick this guy's butt or anything like that.
We're going to fight.
We got to show them like, no, not everything needs to be a fight. Or sometimes you need to be compassionate or empathetic. It's I have someone cussing me out, and instead of just knocking them out or anything like that, I'm like, why are they so angry? Where'd this come from? Have I ever been in that situation?
And that's what's happened is this notion, this modeling of behavior by people, because people are so angry right now, and their triggers and their fuses are so short, and that's what was happening to me personally. Was I was so ensconced and again, it comes down to, you got to be emotionally stable, but I was just being drowned in all this media that was constantly saying the end was near, the end is near, the end is near. It was just wearing me out. And it can become quite easy to go right to the sword, and then Jesus said, live by the sword, die by the sword. But a couple things that I got from what you were just now saying was that, first of all, you got to figure out what works for you in your home in terms of raising your kids. And you've got to set a good example of an even, loving, kind temperament. And yet I can tell you, I know you well enough to know that if anybody showed up at your house to harm your family, you would rise up and you would handle business as a man, because that's our part as a man. But, statistically, suicide among young boys is on the rise. Boys are being shamed. They're being called rapists. They're being called violent. They're being made to sit still in classrooms. A lot of that energy that, when I was a boy, I was very hyperactive. And today they would give me meds. But I was fortunate enough, because where they acknowledged that I was just a creative, hyperactive little boy. I was channeling my energy. We played cowboys and Indians. We played soldiers and stuff like that. And nobody tripped on that, because they understood that it was a natural part of being a boy. And yet, I think where a lot of times we go wrong is we judge people like a stay-at-home dad. I think it's very noble what you do, and if you and your wife are making it work, and I know your wife, she's a great, wonderful, educated woman. She's not lording over you. You're not henpecked. You've got a good, healthy relationships. He's like, I love my wife. Is she listening?
My wife is. She put the bag over my face and hammered me like we did
She's
earlier.
the one with the bag kidnapping. Yeah, but the truth is, that's what it comes back to. And so we can bring our conversation back to college. If your kids go to college well adjusted with a firm foundation, and I spent time with my son just not too long ago, because he has one of those professors, it's an English class, and they said you got to write an essay, and your choices are America sucks, or women are being victimized and it's horrible for women. And while I don't agree that women have their challenges unto themselves, there's a lot of, we could have, that's another show. I'd love to have that, because I think we would have some differing points of view, and yet I think we could find some common ground on that. And he was given a choice of America sucks, or women are being completely oppressed. And it's interesting, I saw Ben Shapiro, there was a gal at Harvard explaining to Ben Shapiro, double major at Harvard, why she was oppressed, which I found, anyway. But that's another topic of discussion. But my point is that I had to talk to him, and I said, look, son, it's your job just to write the assignments. And this is what you're going to face in college. You're going to face people who are very passionate about their points of view, and to the point where they want everybody to believe the same way they do. But I want you, tell me what you believe. And he goes, well, Dad, I believe that America's a good place. I see Mom's a college professor. She makes a good living. You work in the field that you work in, and we have a good life. And I think our country gives us a lot of opportunity. I said, okay. And I want you just to remember that. If you just write the paper, give some statistics. And when we talked about religion, we talked about how some professors could be invested in because they're angry for their own reasons. They may have been hurt by religion. The church hasn't done a good job at not shooting its own soldiers.
Absolutely.
So we can agree on that. And so it comes down to how people raise their kids and the foundation they have. And that lies with, does it lie with the government?
Yeah, it lies with, no, you mean the
or does it lie with society?
No, that has to rely completely on the individual.
On us.
And as a society, we have to really empower each other.
Yes.
And we have to stop saying, judging them like, I can't believe you raised your kids that way.
Right.
Instead we have to say, what's working that. And you know what, my best friend actually, he has 5 children and he's homeschooled them all.
Right.
And I have my own issues with homeschooling, but if you met his kids, they're doing an amazing job.
Phenomenal
amazing
job.
job. You can't deny it. But they're at a point now where they're sending all their kids to school now.
Okay.
You know,
Are they
and
fearful?
They're terrified. the kids are excited,
Yeah.
but the parents are terrified because their kids, they're, I don't want mean people. I don't want this, and it's like, well, that just comes with the territory. And they're both, they're my two favorite people on the planet. So, well, I mean, I'm not blood related to, but I love you, Alex, my wife.
Yes.
But they're fully understanding. But I was telling them, I said, I was homeschooled for a bit and then went into high school, and I said, you have to understand. And I was telling my own son the same thing, that once they get there, they're going to have to accept it. They're going to be weird. They're going to be way different than everyone else now, and they're going to get picked on a little bit. But they can either love who they are and embrace it and just take the bullying, or they can conform and fit in. And I go, for me, it really worked out that I embraced the weird. I was totally cool with me being weird, picked on stuff, but at the end of the day, people really liked the fact that I was just me. I was never trying to be anything else. And his kids are fantastic. They're amazing. Right. And I really hope that they will grow a lot and go into public school, because they'll learn a whole different settings and whole different people. And unfortunately, everyone, it doesn't matter what your background, will get bullied and picked on. But if they embrace, like, this is who I am and I love myself, and my friend and his wife, they're fantastic parents, and they're going to do they already do a really good job of empowering them.
And I love what you're saying about individuality versus groups, and we've got into identity politics, we've got into intersectionality and who's higher on the victim hierarchy and all this, and we are disempowering people by not empowering the individual.
Yeah.
Right? Because your creativity as a writer, I know you're a writer as well, you've been in film, you're a very creative person. Your creativity flows from your own individuality.
Yeah.
You don't write things from the perspective of a group or a groupthink. And that's what I think that we've done is, again, there's a segment of people who are empowered by gathering groups of victims, and it's not to say that there hasn't been racism in our country. I have friends that are LGBTQ, they're gay, that they were treated horribly in Bakersfield, and it's not to say their points of view weren't valid, but I think we've gotten away from judging each person on their merits, judging each person on I hate to use the word judge, but developing a point of view about a person based on their own merits and what they bring to the table, versus saying, oh, you're from this group, so you get this, or you must be this. And what's happening is, I see in our society a lot of African American are becoming more conservative when they've been traditionally liberal, because they're seeing the value of empowerment, they're seeing the value of America and our society. They're frustrated by the fact that people go, well, you're African American, so you have to vote and think this way. And it's on the other side of the spectrum. They're saying, well, you're Republican, so you got to think this way.
Yeah.
And our individuality is really, that's the thing about America. We're allowed to be individuals. We're allowed to develop our talents and our abilities, and that's where our power comes from. Is America provides everybody an opportunity. And you can come up with your own thing, right? The guy that came up with Twitter, the guy that came up with, or the person that came up with there's too numerous to think.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have to realize that there's certain aspects of individuals that can be dangerous.
Okay.
And we have to learn to shut that down. Like you were speaking of African Americans, and I don't want to begin to understand, pretend that I understand the plight of the African American in this country, but when I see bombardment by racism by a specific person,
right,
and if I know it's tearing me apart, right, I can't even imagine what they're going through, and all they can think of is, what group are you from?
Right.
I now hate that group,
right,
and now they're stuck to it. And
so you've got one person being racist, and then people begin to think that represents that whole.
Yeah, and we gotta stop with the individualism. We gotta stop believing an individual will represent each person.
Everybody. So one person doesn't represent everybody.
Yeah. So if some person some person's some psycho racist and they voted Republican, That's not Republicans.
Not all Republicans,
That's a
you're
psycho
right.
racist.
Thank you.
You know, but at the same time, if some liberal comes out there and it's like, yeah, I want socialism, I think that there shouldn't be no such thing as gender and everything like that, and they're like, well, the liberals are crazy. It's like, no, that person believes that.
Not every liberal's
you
crazy.
know, we gotta start exactly. It's people like judge not
judge.
Well,
Eric.
Well, you know what? It's on the individual. And it's not, and we judge them by their fruits.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is we don't, not by the clothes or anything like that, not by how they voted, not by whatever affiliation they have, but by their fruits.
Person, by their fruits, by
even
what
if
they do.
Yeah, and so if we're like, I don't know if I agree with the way you're thinking, but if you see someone's children, you're like, those are some well-rounded. Maybe they're doing something right. But I've seen people who I've met them and I thought they were just amazing, and then their kids are just awful. And a lot of times I'm like, I'm sorry, but I judge a lot of people based on the way their kids behave.
Well, Eric, I got to say that we've had a great discussion. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
It really does.
And the truth is that we are all individuals. We all bring something to the table. As parents, it's our job to raise good citizens, and a whole myriad of things that we couldn't get to. One, thank you for coming out to Solution Focused Media. Thank you to Eric.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage you out there, our viewers, to find solutions everywhere you can.
Compassion,
Thank you.
love, understanding.
Compassion, love.